We welcome you to another edition of Snap the Big Skin. Hello, everybody. The NFL preseason is coming to a close. The NFL season is right around the corner. Football is about to be back in full swing. I'm Noah Clark, joined by Kedrick Stumbris. We have a guest coming on to our show today to talk a little bit of NFC West today. And fun stuff going on. We also have the AFC West. We will do our weekly headlines in the middle. We do have some big weekly headlines coming up. The Colts benching Anthony Richardson, Micah Parsons, and Trey Hendrickson. We'll talk a little bit more about the stuff going on there. And we will also talk a little bit more about the overall stuff coming up next week, because we will finish out the NFC and AFC North previews as well. So, Kedrick, why don't you introduce the guest coming on this show, because you work with him at Badger Notes as well, too.
Work feels generous. But yes, Ryan, thanks so much for coming on. Ryan Eilers, one of our fantastic co-hosts for our weekly Talking Badgers after dark, which I think we just had a pretty good time recording, and we'll be dropping into folks' feeds later this evening on Wednesday the 20th.
Yeah, and a big Cardinal fan as well, too, from what I've heard.
Yeah, 100%. Big Arizona fan. Grew up in Phoenix on the north side. Love every Arizona sport. So I am well conditioned to know about the NFC West.
Awesome.
Ryan's the sicko who flies himself out to Phoenix for the sole purpose of going to NFL preseason games. So
yes, but to be fair, it was against the Chiefs, and somehow because of our dearly loved Taylor Swift, my daughter is now a Chiefs fan. So that was the only time they were playing, and I was a reason to go to a Cardinals game, and the Cardinals beat the Chiefs, so I have in-home bragging rights, preseason or not. She doesn't know the concept of preseason and regular season. She just knows wins and losses. So Chiefs took an L, so I got to fly home happy.
There you go. Went to the Vikings game this past weekend, and U.S. Bank, and the Vikings lost. So everybody in my girlfriend's family, they're like, it's just preseason. I'm like, who cares? Like,
they
lost.
Don't count wins and losses for no reason.
Exactly. Exactly. So Ryan, we're gonna start with the NFC West today. Usually we do the AFC West, but we're going to jump into the NFC West. Here's how things are going to work on our show. We've got 3 different categories: touchdown, turnover, trick play. A touchdown is something positive you've seen from your team, something positive that you would see. What have they done this offseason so far? And that could be brought into next season, or that could be brought into this season. Turnover, something bad, something that you thought they should have improved on. Or trick play, something that, still is raising the question, a surprise maybe. That's the trick play. So let's get right into it, Ryan, and let's get into it with your team, the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona last year, the Cardinals didn't do so well, but they brought a lot of help over on the defensive side. They were on a big spending spree this last year for Arizona on the defensive side. On the offensive side, not so much, but could there be some improvement from the players that they have already there in-house? Arizona right now ranked by Pro Football Focus as the 16th best offensive line in the NFL coming into this year in 2025. Could they take a big step up? There's a lot of question marks there. But Ryan, I'll start with you. Touchdown. What is your positive from this Arizona Cardinals team?
Yeah, I think a positive certainly is going to be the development of Marvin Harrison Jr. By a lot of standards, if you look at the Jamar Chase, the Justin Jefferson effect, Marvin had a below average rookie year. I mean, even compared to his draft counterparts, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., who just basically got fed targets. Numbers wise, it looks like Marvin didn't have a great year, but when you start looking at it in like the grand scheme of things and what he was asked to do in the offense, I mean, he was good as a rookie. Was he great? No. Was he legendary? No. But a lot of his numbers mirror the Cardinals. I would say the Cardinals' best player of all time. They are the NFL's oldest franchise, starting out in Racine as the Racine Cardinals. So as the NFL's longest tenured NFL team, the best player, Larry Fitzgerald, had similar numbers to Marvin Harrison Jr. his rookie year. So I'm not worried about that. And I think part of the optimism and positivity I have for them this year is the ever-developing connection between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. When I did go out for a preseason game to see the Cardinals and the Chiefs, I did catch the last open practice, and they were just cooking. And our DBs are young and a little bit inexperienced, but I think that connection is going to grow. And I think last year his target or his usage rate was probably like 5 to 6 targets a game. I could see that doubling this year. And I think that's going to improve the offense as a whole. Because like you said, they kind of just ran it back with what they have on offense.
Yeah. Arizona kind of running it back and improving with that group. I mean, Michael Wilson, I think that could be a solid wide receiver 2 for that group to pair with Marvin Harrison. And not many people talked about him a lot last year. I thought he had some good numbers for the Cardinals. I do think he can only get better as the year goes on this year. But yeah, Marvin Harrison, even looking at it too, he gained a little bit of that. He gained a little bit more muscle this past offseason too. So that could be huge and detrimental for the Cardinals to have that success. Kedrick, touchdown for Arizona here. What are your thoughts for the Cardinals?
For me, it has to be recognizing their deficiencies on the defensive front and really investing in it this offseason. They finished bottom 6 in the league in pressure rate in 2024. Then you go out and you sign Josh Sweat out of Philly to a 4-year deal, who I think really – here's the thing with Sweat. He did have 8 sacks, but it was kind of a sneaky 8 where he converted on pressures at a really, really high clip. He only generated 16 pressures, but that led to 8 sacks. I imagine that means that he's going to trend down in sacks this year, but it'll depend on if that pressure number goes up. Of course, you also bring in first-round pick Walter Nolan on the D line to bolster that side as well. I think that's where they needed to improve the most this offseason, and that's where they invested the most resources.
Yeah, touchdown for me, the defensive side. Just continuing on from the defense. You look at what they added along the defensive side besides Josh Sweat. They added in their first 5 picks in the draft, all defensive players. It wasn't until round 6 when they went and invested in the offensive side of the ball. But you look at who they added. These are some pretty solid players from their team. They added, like you said, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, Jordan Birch, Cody Simon, and Denzel Burke. They added some pieces basically all around the defensive side and added to Josh Sweat and Cardinal great Calais Campbell, Baron Browning, and Dalvin Tomlinson to that group. I think really they wanted to invest in this defensive side. And it wasn't great last year, but it still needed some work. I mean, they finished 21st in total defense last year. It wasn't great. So what do? They got to get better. Where do they need to get better? On that front 4, on that defensive line. And they did that this past offseason. They bolstered that defensive line to make themselves at least a team that maybe can boost up from 21st in total defense to at least, outside the top 10. Like I'd say 11th, 12th, maybe in that situation. So love what they did on the defensive side. Turnover now. Ryan, what is your turnover for the Arizona Cardinals? What did you see from them this offseason that they need to improve on?
The biggest thing I need to see improvement on is downfield passing game. So many times we as Cardinals fans and even just Cardinals naysayers, they want to pick apart the downfield passing. In 2021, I believe Kyler Murray led the NFL in explosive plays over 20 yards, over 25 yards, and then they just kind of evaporated the last 2 years in the Drew Petzing system. I think trying to get back to opening up the defense a little bit is going to help. That's my one concern area. Because the NFL, a lot of teams run too high shell now or too high or even disguise it and end up running cover 3. I think it's really hard in modern NFL to take those deep shots, but you have to draw something up. You have to be better there. And I think Drew Petzing entering year 3 of his system, and they basically ran it all back like you outlined the draft. They only took one offensive player in the entire draft, and coincidentally, rest up Hayden Connor, who injured his knee in the last preseason game, is going to go. I don't know if he's going to be done for the year, but they're going to have 0 offensive playmakers from the draft. So they got what they got, and they got to make it work. And I think right now, the biggest turnover spot for me is Drew Petzing. Can you get this offense to where it needs to go?
Yeah. The Cardinals offense didn't really improve much through this past offseason, so I could see that. Kedrick, what a turnover for you? What are your thoughts on the turnover bug from the Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in line with Ryan here. I look at this team and I don't see a lot of offensive playmaker depth. The development of Marvin Harrison Jr. is awesome. He is awesome. Trey McBride is awesome. James Conner is an awesome versatile threat. And that's kind of where like the names stop. And yeah, that's names versus development year over year. But there is a potential dearth of offensive skill makers behind Harrison Jr. and McBride.
Yeah, they certainly got up and coming guys. I think Trey Benson, James Conner, to your point about James Conner, they've talked to Trey Benson and James Conner, and they both see themselves as a 1A, 1B. I don't know how much that is, quote unquote player speak. I don't know if that's, to keep the young guy engaged. But Trey, while Marvin had gained weight this offseason, Trey Benson has lost a little bit of weight and is now running a lot harder. He got happy feet, as most young running backs can do in the NFL. They're used to being able to kind of stretch it out and hit a home run. And in the men's league, you got to take the hole and go. And that's one big thing he's worked on. So to your point about young playmakers between Trey Benson in the backfield, you need Michael Wilson to take that jump. He's also in year 3, all 3 years in Drew Petzing's system. If he wants to be a Cardinal for his second contract, he's really going to have to develop into a solid number 2. I know Noah said he's a decent number 2, but we still need more from him. And like obviously Trey's a monster. We got about 11 minutes in here and we didn't mention Trey McBride. It almost feels like blasphemy for Cardinals fans because he's the guy that stirs the drink. He was targeted the most. We had an outlier season last year where he had so many catches and so many yards, but didn't score an offensive receiving touchdown until like week 16, which was just like wild. He had a rushing touchdown and a fumble recovery touchdown, but didn't have a receiving one, which is kind of bananas and kind of indicative of the offensive system. But even Xavier Weaver, he was an undrafted guy out of Colorado. He's kind of the burner now. They need some guy to stretch the field to kind of open it up and kind of give that downfield passing. So, yeah, there's a lot of options what they can have. But Drew Petzing definitely has a type. He loves receivers over 6 feet, and he loves guys that can play all the positions. So it's a hard system to learn, but there is playmakers behind him. But like you said, once you get from Marvin to Trey to James Conner, it does feel like there's a little bit more of a gap than you would want.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Oh, sorry, you were gonna say something, Kedrick.
No,
okay. For my turnover, I'm gonna circle to that offensive line. This year, Pro Football Focus did have them ranked pretty highly, 16th this year in offensive line. But even looking into this offseason, they only added 3 offensive linemen through free agency, and they only drafted 1, Hayden Jones. And you said now with Hayden Jones potentially being out for an extended period, that could cause some problems. I do think that, Kyler Murray, if they want Kyler Murray to be successful, they need to have him with a healthy offensive line. Now, can that offensive line be a little bit more consistent this year and improve? It's a possibility, but the fact that they didn't really address the O-line in the draft and also really didn't take too much into consideration that they probably should improve on the offensive line through free agency does give me that kind of concern with Arizona just a little bit. So that's where I got my turnover looking at.
Yeah, so to that offensive line point, I think part of it too is what the Cardinals are struggling with is last year they kind of ran into an injury bug. So like when you look at they played their first and it's hard to gauge. So they kind of ran it back for better or worse, we're going to find out. But week 1 in Buffalo last year, they lost Jonah Williams, who was a first-round pick out of Alabama, started at Cincinnati for 4 years for the Bengals, came over to play right tackle. He got nicked, or not even nicked, he got injured in the first game against Buffalo, was out 6 to 8 weeks, came back, was kind of a shell of himself. Will Hernandez was their starting right guard, got hurt, tore his ACL, just got picked back up about a week or two ago for depth. But to the point where you said that they brought in some free agents, I don't even think those guys are making the team. I think Isaiah Adams, the 3rd-round pick out of Illinois, who's an absolute mauler. I was watching one-on-ones in that last day of practice. He looked like one of the best offensive linemen I've seen. Now, obviously, people that know offensive line has forgotten 10 times more than I ever know, but he was going against a healthy Darius Robinson. He was stonewalling Calais Campbell, which I know we Cardinals fans like to call Calais Campbell grandfather. But when grandfather's getting stoned and he's 6'8", 320, like you're doing something right. You got your leverage right. And he was looking really good. So I think the offensive line, 16th, I think is fair. I think if Jonah Williams plays a full season and you have Will Hernandez to be your swing guard, and then you actually keep Kelvin Beachum, who was forced into action at 38 years old last year. If you keep him as a swing tackle to only do spots here and there, I think the offensive line can improve. But as we all know, it's football. You're going to have depth issues. So it would be curious to see what happens. They also got a new offensive line coach, Justin Fry from Ohio State, who Coach Paris Johnson Jr. has him at his natural left side. They have an undrafted free agent, Josh Fryer from Ohio State, who's probably going to be the swing tackle. So they definitely have bodies there. They have talent there, but it's the NFL. We'll have to see if it ends up translating.
Yeah, the O-line I think it'll be very interesting, and especially with Kyler Murray too. Like if you want him to be successful, you need to build that O-line around him. And
Especially in the middle.
Yeah, especially in that middle, because like you can't have another year, or at least not another year. You can't have a season where your quarterback is having to run more than he's throwing. You know, when your quarterback is running more than he's throwing, that's a problem. You should be having him throw more than he runs in terms of that situation. So
absolutely, he should definitely. I agree with you 100%. They've made a commitment to he's going to run the football a lot more this year on designed runs. But when Kyler Murray is protected in the middle, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's probably top 10 passing. He can handle bad tackles. He's handled them for the first 4 or 5 years before Paris Johnson. He can handle that. He can make those guys miss. Where the Cardinals have always struggled, it's against teams with. I mean, I guess most quarterbacks this would apply to. If he struggled, like in the NFC West, Aaron Donald, Leonard Williams in Seattle. Insert any San Francisco first-round pick defensive tackle that they've had, and it's like you collapse that pocket at 5'10", he's not going to be able to see anything, and that's not. Cardinals fans get fatigued by the height conversations, but if you can fortify your interior guard, center guard, he's going to be a very effective quarterback for you, whether your tackles are good or not. So that's the big emphasis now is like making sure that those three are good. And the Desert Viking, Yelda Froholt, he's very good. Isaiah Adams is coming into his own. It's his second year, so you want to see that second year pop. And then Evan Brown, who's not a journeyman, but has played a lot of snaps in the NFL from Seattle. And then you got Will Hernandez coming back from an ACL, who is an absolute stud at guard that could be used for depth. I think there's a reason to be optimistic, but you never know.
We'll see. Well, I mean, and speaking of optimistic, that's perfect to segue through to our last one, trick play for the Arizona Cardinals. What's your trick play here, Ryan? What are you looking for? What's the surprise? What are we seeing from the Cardinals here?
Yeah, I can't remember who the legendary philosopher is that said the ball is the program, but that is more true than ever. You talk about Josh Sweat, and you know Kedrick had his little bit of slander saying that he thinks the sacks for Sweat are going to regress. Let's not forget that his most successful season in the league was under a Jonathan Gannon defense with Nick Rallis as his position coach. Jonathan Gannon's the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and Nick Rallis is the defensive coordinator. So super familiar there. I would expect 8 would be kind of the expectation, with the hopes that he can get to double digits. But I think with the revamped defensive line, you're gonna have more havoc rate. You're gonna have more pressures. The Cardinals need the ball. You got the ball is the program. So you got Max Melton, you got Will Johnson, Budda Baker still here. They're going to go from possibly a really good safety tandem within the next 2 years to one of the ones with clearly the best nicknames, because they just drafted a kid on the 7th round named Keaton Crawford, but he goes by Buck Crawford. And then they have Dadrian Taylor Demerson, who was a safety at Texas Tech, and he goes by Rabbit. So you're going to go from the Buddha and JT to Buck and Rabbit, who can hit and they can cover. And then you got Will Johnson, you got Max Melton, you got Garrett Williams, who I believe was a Pro Bowler last year, 3rd-round pick 2 years ago. They got to get the ball. We got to get turnovers. We got to get takeaways. I don't know if it's going to get to the Philadelphia Eagles when they had, I believe, was it 70 sacks and however many turnovers. But I think that's the trick play I want to see. Is I want to see the ball taken away at a much higher clip this year.
Ooh. Ryan, do you actually – was this tongue-in-cheek that you don't know who says the ball is the program?
No, not really. I forgot. I have a brain. I didn't say it was very big.
This is apparently a PJ Fleckism.
Really?
Oh, wow. Hey, I mean, if the shoe fits, it seems like we got a lot of isms around the Wisconsin program. I just must have picked it up. But the ball is the program. So, hey, good team over there. They beat Wisconsin last year, so can't slander them until we get the X back. So the ball is the program.
How do you feel today, Ryan?
About the Cardinals?
Never mind. Different PJ Fleckism.
I feel
your
elite,
response
baby.
is there we go.
Yeah. Kedrick, your trick play here for Arizona. What are your thoughts?
So for context, the trick play is supposed to be a freewheeling. Let's let all of our worst instincts out here. Maybe if things hit the fan with Kyler Murray, if he can't stay healthy, because he's only stayed healthy one time a season ago out of the last 4 seasons. I don't think Jacoby Brissett's a guy, but I think maybe his skill set as a backup QB is about like the best platonic fit you could have for a backup QB here among available guys. Maybe what you would really want is something like Malik Willis, frankly. But I think Jacoby Brissett's probably an improvement for them schematically at backup quarterback.
Yeah, and he's enormous.
He's
I mean,
so big.
he walked by and I was like, that is a quarterback? Like, yikes.
Sticking on with the trick play, it's Kyler Murray for me, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this, but at what point I know, because Kyler Murray right now, even more deep into this, Kyler Murray still is on his 5-year extension deal. He's got about 2-3 more years left in this deal. But looking at just some of the numbers that Kyler Murray has posted up, only 1 postseason appearance in his career. 3 out of the last 4 seasons, he has not played a full 17-game season. Now, last year was his first year playing a full 17-game season, but they didn't make the playoffs again. They finished 3rd in the division. At what point does the front office make that decision or make that question of maybe going to a different quarterback? Because we've heard about this. I've heard about this the last few off seasons with Kyler Murray. And it's only, and I could be on this part of it as well. He's with you look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't have a really good roster around him. He's one of their only few good players. Maybe you put him on a different roster, you could see some different changes. But even still, only 1 playoff appearance and 3 out of the last 4 seasons, not not been healthy. That's my only question mark there. Is this going to be kind of a make or break season for Kyler Murray this year, or am I just kind of living in fantasy land here?
There are two people in my life who really believe QB wins are a stat, and they are Noah and my future father-in-law. I will leave it at that.
I mean, they're a good stat to have. I mean, I love stats.
Yeah.
I don't think you're that far off base. I think the Arizona Cardinals fan base is fractured. I mean, there's no other way around it. You have, I don't know what the majority and minority is, but there is if it's a minority, well, it's definitely a minority. They are very loud that Kyler Murray is the problem. And I find myself in the majority saying, very much like you did, he hasn't had weapons. He hasn't had a system. However, excuses have a timeline. They have an expiration date, if you will. I think this year we're going to know, much like on a previous show with Kedrick, we talked about there's a game where you realize you know what you know. And I think by February 7th of 2026, you know what you have. Well, that's not to say they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm just trying to find the end of the season there. Because you have 3 years in the same system. You're coming off a healthy year. You didn't have to have rehab in the offseason. Your playmakers, Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison, are coming back. No injuries. Offensive line is relatively healthy for what you have out there. You have James Conner. You have a revamped defensive line. I mean, the fact that they won 8 games last year with that defense, to me, I think they played 8 or 9. I can't remember how many playoff teams they played in a row to end the year, and they didn't end the year well. And that's kind of a Kyler Murray specialty, is like, we used to blame it on Cliff Kingsbury to say they could never finish at the end. But then when Jonathan Gannon came, it was very similar, as they weren't able to finish at the end, which I'm starting to think that it might be a me thing, because that's how I feel about my college team too, is we can't finish at the end. So maybe it's a me thing, but I think this year you're going to know. You got all the weapons. If he's injured, then that just refortifies that availability is your best ability. So if he gets hurt, I think this is his last season. If he underperforms, I think they will probably trade him and try to get a quarterback, because Gannon and the general manager, Monty Ossenfort, every GM and quarterback, or every GM and coach, I believe, deserves the right to draft their own guy. And they inherited Kyler Murray. So I feel like it would be the year 4 for them. I don't know if they're going to just double down on Kyler for a 4th straight year. So I think we're going to know this year. I think the expectations around Cardinal land is win the division, which sounds like a lot, given that the Cardinals haven't won it since 2015. But as we go through the preview, you see around the NFC West, if it's not this year, brother, I don't know what year it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, contract wise, I think he's probably around in 2026. If you trade Ryan, which you brought up about trading him, I think that's the more interesting proposition, because if you just straight cut Kyler Murray, it's a $57 million dead cap hit, and I don't think that's feasible. But if you trade him and you get something, it's only a $27 million dead cap hit because of the signing bonus, which, like, in the world of an Aaron Rodgers $49 million cap hit, is not insane.
Well, you look at Russell Wilson too. I mean, they paid $70 million for him to go away. I think a lot of it too is that's probably, if he doesn't have the year. So I'm saying, because I can't say 10 wins, because Seattle won 10 last year and didn't make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So if they win 10, you're kind of on that, like, well, I guess we got to run it back in 2026. We're improving every year. You went from 4 wins to 8 wins to 10 wins. I feel like you're right. You have to run it back in 26. I think the only reason he would not be the quarterback, and mind you, I want him to be the quarterback. I want Kyler Murray he's the best homegrown quarterback we've had since Jim Hart or Neil Lomax. We need a homegrown guy, like, to build our franchise around. And, like, the fan base is fractured. We need Kyler to do it this year. But I think the only way that we move on is if he's injured, which kind of forces your hand, and you can point to, 3 out of 4 years you've been injured. Or just ineffectiveness, like you're not hitting deep passes, you're not hitting there. Because, like you said about Jacoby Brissett, yeah, they're very different in quarterbacks. But Brissett, it's preseason, I understand. but Jacoby Brissett in this first 7-8 months of an offense was dicing up first and second team defenses in preseason. Yes, it's preseason. No, it doesn't matter. But he showed like what progressions and passing and all that. It's like, I mean, there's no excuse for Kyler now. So, I think they would probably have to trade him. I don't think Michael Bidwell is notoriously not super cheap, but he's on the cheap. He's not Mike Brown cheap, but he's also not Stan Kroenke rich. So I don't know that he would eat 57 mil, but I think he would eat 27 mil and trade him. Because Monty Ossenfort's did a nice job of revitalizing the roster and purging bad contracts, getting Isaiah Simmons out of there, DeAndre Hopkins. I think Buddha just got an extension. James Conner got an extension. But for the most part, Trey McBride just got an extension. But for the most part, they should be top 10 in cap. So they could easily absorb a $27 million if that's the decision they wanted to do. But I think it all depends on how many wins do you have. Because if you're 8 wins, you're 8-9, you're not getting a quarterback that you want anyway. If you're 10-7 and don't make the playoffs, you're not getting a quarterback you are. So it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So the only thing I could say if they move on is they're going to have to be in striking range of getting a quarterback that they want.
Yeah. And so, yeah, because I'm curious because, like, looking at the draft, Arch Manning may not be the top guy going into 2026. So then it comes down to, well, who's the next best one? It's either Cade Klubnik or Lenore Sellers. And there's probably going to be some teams that are going to be looking for a quarterback after this year. And there's going to be a lot of teams that will be looking for a quarterback after this year. So in a rare essence. So moving on from Arizona, let's jump into the Seattle Seahawks, or as the great philosopher Trap House Sports says, the Seattle Sea Pigeons. Seattle last year. Huh?
That's much nicer than what we call them in Arizona. It rhymes with Seahawks, but
yeah. Seattle last year finished like Ryan said, finished with 10 wins, did not make the playoffs though. Tough break for Seattle, but the good news is Geno Smith is no longer on their roster. He is in the Raiders. And on top of that, Seattle got a 3rd-round pick back for Geno. They also got Sam Darnold this offseason, the only quarterback this year with, I believe, 2+ more years on a contract, Kedrick?
Yeah, that's right.
Only quarterback that has that.
Only quarterback to get a long-term deal in free agency this year.
Yeah, and others did not. Seattle, on the other hand, though, lost DK Metcalf, lost Tyler Lockett, so you lose 2 pass catchers there. They go from a new offensive coordinator, from Ryan Grubb a season ago to Clint Kubiak now. A lot of changes for the Seattle Seahawks. So, Ryan, I'll start with you for Seattle. What are your thoughts touchdown-wise? What are your thoughts on Seattle? Any positives from the Seattle Seahawks going into this year?
Yeah, I mean, one of the exciting things for them definitely is, like you said, the 2-year deal, multi-year deal for Sam Darnold. I think he's the only guy in the league that is a certified ghost hunter, because I do remember him always saying he could see ghosts when he was out there playing quarterback. So they have that going for him. I think a positive for them, though, is I've never been a big fan of Ryan Grubb. I definitely now I say that as the Cardinals lost both games against the Seahawks last year. I do like playing that offense because it was about as inept as we were. Clint Kubiak comes from the Kubiak, obviously Papa Bear Kubiak. He knows the wide zone running scheme, which is terrifying as an Arizona fan, just because we hope that defensive line in Arizona is better. But when you get Kenneth Walker in a wide zone like he was at Michigan State,
look out.
Yeah, and he runs mean. No thanks. So that's going to be positive for him, is getting their running game so they can run that play action. Because if you don't have a run game, all the ghosts are out for Sammy.
It's got to be tough distinguishing between the ghosts and the fog in Seattle.
That's true. And he's never played in inclement weather, so he might see ghosts that are just clouds.
I mean, he played with the Jets. Like, East Rutherford's no No, Honolulu.
Yeah.
Yeah, but did he play or did I think he got benched pretty quick. He did a lot. He did a lot of what I tell some of my players on my youth team. You're a stand by me guy.
Kedrick, your thoughts. Touchdown for Seattle here. What are your thoughts for the Seahawks?
I think the Geno Smith trade is just highway robbery. The fact that you're able to get a 3rd round pick for an age 35 season Geno Smith is just bananas
Please.
to me. Like, regardless of if you have a relatively high opinion of Geno, a 3rd round pick for an age 35 Geno is nuts. I think you pair that with a modest upgrade to Sam Darnold, who is significantly younger as well. I think it's just a tremendous move.
Yeah. The Geno Smith for me, that for me, like that was a big trade that they got, and a 3rd round pick out of that is unheard of for a guy at that age. But I think that was what they needed to do in order to get this team back on track, was getting rid of Geno Smith. Because I've said countless times on this show, Seattle's not going to get anywhere with Geno Smith as your quarterback. Geno Smith can only get you so far, but at the end of the day, he's still Geno. He still is going to make mistakes. A lot of people have seen it on the Jets, even when he was on the Giants, even when he was on the Chargers. He's still Geno. So they trade him. They get Sam Darnold. And that team, I think, got better at the quarterback position. I'm not saying that they could be a Super Bowl team better, but I think they got better in terms of that position specifically. And even on top of that, too, with adding Jalen Milroe in the draft, like if Sam Darnold doesn't pan out, like you could go to Jalen Milroe and you could have another situation that they had almost a decade ago when they signed Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson came in. So there could be that situation there. But yeah, the Sam Darnold signing, 10 out of 10. I loved what Seattle did there. I do think it will be very interesting to see how that will pan out, but we'll get more to that in the trick play. Turnover, Ryan, what is your turnover for the Seahawks here out in Seattle?
Yeah, I think the biggest turnover would literally be the word turnover. You lose 2 offensive weapons that are stalwarts, and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And I'm just wondering who they're going to throw to. Like, they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, but that's about it. Like, I'm blanking on any other impact guy that they have on the outside. So I know with your wide zone running scheme, you're going to be able to throw the ball on play action in theory. But if all you got is an under 6 foot slot receiver, I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with downfield passing. So that would be my area of concern, or where I would have trepidation if I was Seattle.
Yeah. Seattle's a tough one. That's like the glaring need for the Seahawks right now, is that pass catcher.
I guess I should say that they did get Cooper Kupp. Mm-hmm. But the ancient relic that now is Cooper Kupp, to me, like, is almost disrespect to the real Cooper Kupp, because it's like he's been so injury fatigued and riddled that it's like, what are you getting? So I know you'll have people watch this and be like, how did you forget Cooper Kupp? Like, I know he's there, but the ghost of Cooper Kupp might be the one Sam starts throwing to.
Kedrick, your turnover for Seattle here.
No, Ryan, I think you are right about that, because that's my turnover. The pseudo Kupp Metcalf swap, I think, is a definitive downgrade for Seattle. I think you downgraded at the position in terms of skill and got 5 years older at the position. A 3-year, $15 million average annual value deal is probably a slight overpay, but I think that's just like the wide receiver market overpaying guys generally. But there's basically only one season in the league where if you want to just go over counting numbers, only one season has Cooper Kupp had a year that was definitively better than anything DK Metcalf has done in a season long stretch. And that was the 1 year Cooper Kupp probably should have won MVP in 2021. But otherwise, yeah, I think this was a significant downgrade, and you got the good dude under contract. There's some cases in which I get it. There's a trade request, but make him sit out, figure it out, make him lose the money, because this was a bad deal.
And a baby Jerry Jones.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing here. Cooper Kupp coming in. If this was Cooper Kupp in 2021, I would say this would be an incredible signing for them. Get yourself a number one wide receiver, but it's not. Trading DK away is also brutal because you lose your number one wide receiver and also Tyler Lockett too. So now you lose your number one and your number two. Now you're kind of expecting Jackson Smith and Jigba to take that next step. Can he do it? I think he can, but he's going to have a lot of double teams on him. And who else are they going to find to kind of help him out? Not really much there. I mean, Cooper Kupp is relatively getting up there in age, and there's not much left after that in terms of depth. They just don't have the depth there at that wide receiver spot. So that's my turnover. Trick play. Ryan, what is your trick play for Seattle? What can we see from the Seahawks here?
Yeah, I think one of their trick plays is going to be their defensive back seven. I feel like their new Mike McDonald, their head coach, year two, is trying to create his version of Legion of Boom, and that is terrifying as a Cardinals fan. But also, they got the safety out of South Carolina, Emanwari, I believe, that terrible pronunciation, but he is like a Cam Chancellor rebirth. And they already got Devon Witherspoon, and they got another guy at corner that's pretty good. I'm blanking on name. I don't know if they still got Kobe Bryant, but they got very good back seven. That one of their trick plays is they're gonna have to score defensive touchdowns this year, because you too may believe in Sam Darnold. I, however, am going to side on the reality that he doesn't have Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson anymore, and Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones to catch passes from, and he's not going to play in a climate-controlled environment 8 weeks a year. He gets to go to Arizona once, but awesome. And we play, I believe, I'm trying to think of the divisions we play this year. We play the AFC South, so you're getting up here in Indy's a dome. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have 10-plus games outside in the elements, and you're going to have to win with defense. You're going to have to score some defensive touchdowns to not only threaten for the division, but even to make a wild card.
Yeah. I do think that that defense is going to look really impressive. I think when you look at it last year, they were outside the top 10. They finished 11th in total defense last year. And now you look at it, kind of, Mike McDonald bringing what he brought over from Baltimore, what he brought over from Michigan, just his defensive style of play. So now you look at it, they went out, they signed DeMarcus Lawrence. They improved in their secondary. And this, I do think you're right. If there's one strength to this Seattle team, it's going to be their defense. Their offense is not going to be the strength of this team, but if they're going to win, they're going to win by their defense. So it's going to be one of those situations where the offense may not be as good, but the defense can keep you in games as much as possible. And mind you, this has been the issue. This has been the same thing that the Kansas City Chiefs have been through the last 2 or 3 seasons, where their defense has been better than their offense in some cases. So Kedrick, your trick play for the Seattle Seahawks here.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan kind of already got it. It's Darnold. Are you getting a 2024 Sam Darnold renaissance, or is that simply a Kevin O'Connell product and talent around him, or is this the 2020, 2021 Darnold with an interception rate slightly above 3%? While it's probably somewhere in the middle, I definitely don't think you're getting anything close to what you got out of Sam Darnold a season ago.
Yeah, the same thing with me. I mean, like with Kevin O'Connell's offense, this has been the thing. This has been what I've talked about with Kevin O'Connell in his offense. It is a quarterback friendly offense, very quarterback friendly. Anybody who comes into his offense instantly has success. I mean, you look at it last year, he had instant success when coming in there, and he wasn't even supposed to be the starting quarterback to begin the year. So with that, he played himself into a nice little 4-year contract. But now you're going into Seattle. You're going in a completely different offense now with Clint Kubiak, wide zone. They're not an offense that really throws the ball as much. They like to run the ball. So how is that going to translate? And how will that change, Sam Darnold's style of play? I do think that will be there will be a lot of question marks there as to how he will play in Seattle, because now he's not in an offense, which is predicated on the quarterback being very successful, and he's not playing in a dome. He's playing in the rain. He's playing in cold Pacific Northwest Washington. A lot of stuff going from Sam Darnold. Now on to my least favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. I hate this team so much with a passion, and but even still, it was very fun watching them last year suck so bad. Dead last in the NFC West last year. They only had 6 wins last year. Their team got Thanos snapped, basically losing a lot, and I mean a lot, of key players last year. But the good news is Brock Purdy's back. They got that Brock Purdy extension. George Kittle and Fred Warner got signed up to new contract extensions as well. Your thoughts, Ryan, on the 49ers touchdown here for San Francisco? Is there a positive for San Francisco this year or not?
Oh, there's always positives with this team, because a lot of people are projecting them to go 11-6 or 12-5. So definitely positivity there. I echo the sentiments you have. There's not a team that I dislike more in the entire sports landscape. As a Wisconsin Badger fan since 2005, I hate San Francisco probably 5 million times more than Minnesota. But yeah, yes. I mean, Deebo Samuel, Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, Elijah Mitchell, the Dobbernaut, Javon Hargrave. Yeah, I would say Dobbernaut had a great year with Kevin O'Connell. Charvarius Ward, he was kind of important on defense. Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga. Yeah, they literally just got absolutely gutted. And their wide receiver looks like a hospital ward right now, because Jawan Jennings is now holding out or holding in or whatever he's doing as wide receiver 5 last year to get wide receiver 1 money. Ricky Pearsall got shot for a watch last year, and all of a sudden he's going to be the number 1. It is an absolute dumpster fire, and you love to see it. But the one thing that I'm excited about for them, one thing they can be positive of, is they have a 38-year-old left tackle that's still one of the better left tackles in the league. They still have a over 30 tight end that tight ends definitely don't lose a step in their early 30s, so they definitely have that with George Kittle going for them. But I think the biggest thing is Brock Purdy got signed to extension. It's time to show what Brock Purdy can do. I've been told by 49ers fans that it wasn't the roster that carried him, that he was a great quarterback and he wasn't a product of his weapons. So I'm excited to see the 49ers compete for a Super Bowl this year, behind the arm of Brock Purdy and third and Jawan Jennings, in a revamped defense full of UDFAs and scrap heap. So really looking up for them.
It's definitely, and I think we'll get to this in a little bit, but like, I think if you're Brock Purdy, I don't think you're going to have to like take a significant downgrade here or along the skill positions. Like, yeah, George Kittle, probably a little old, but like You probably have enough at running back. Christian McCaffrey, I think Isaac Guerrero, former Badger.
Ding. Hey, we got the bell.
Yeah, I got it. Is probably a good enough, like, number 2, and then you still have Ayuk, Jennings, Pearsall. Like, I think you're probably good with skill position players.
Ayuk isn't playing until week 8, though. He's on IR for half the year.
Whatever. I mean, like, my point getting to it is that this is a team that's probably going to have to win through its offense for the first time in a long time. It's the defense that I think that you mentioned there, the scrap heap defense, that I think is the much bigger question mark here.
Yeah. And you look at the offense, just even with getting Kittle, Fred Warner, and Brock Purdy. I mean, even Fred Warner is going to be a big piece of that defense. If they had lost Fred Warner this offseason after losing Dre Greenlaw and Ufonga, and that defense is just, that defense would be bottom of the league because of how bad they would have had. I mean, yeah, they had Nick Bosa, but the key to what makes that Niners defense so successful is their linebackers. You know, their linebackers are so key. But glad that they got Fred Warner back. They added some pieces, and looking at the Google Doc here too, Kedrick, they added pieces, Bryce Huff and Michael Williams. They did add some pass rush. Is that going to be enough? It does bode that question, but wonderful stuff for Brock Purdy to get that deal. That hit so much like crack when I saw him get that extension and the entire team just fall apart with all the players they had to let go. So now the best part about this, Ryan, turnover. What are your thoughts on the 49ers? What's something, what's the turnover for the Niners here?
I think it's just experience and depth. You're looking at Juwan Jennings. I know I was bagging on him, but the 49ers fans always say it's third and Juwan for a reason because they always find him on third down. He's an excellent option at wide receiver 4. I would love to have him as probably wide receiver 3 for the Cardinals, to be honest. But if it's him and Ricky Pearsall, who played much of last year and stat padded, I guess, I think the biggest turnover for him is literally kind of what we highlighted as the positive for me is the absolute attrition of their team. Because what you're saying is right. Fred Warner, I'll give him his flowers. That dude is a monster. Nick Bosa, kind of a one-trick pony. He can rush the passer. I don't know how he is in the run game. I'm not a PFF guy, but he seems like he's got one thing, and that's fine. You just chip him, and then game over. But I think if they suffer any more injuries, I'm not even worried about Brock Purdy. But last year they had 6 wins with all of these guys. Now you take all those guys out, you lose Fred Warner, you lose Nick Bosa for 4, 6, 8 games with minor injuries. Like this might be a top 5 picking team.
Which would be insane to think about because given the fact that 2 years ago they were in the Super Bowl and now Mahomes broke that team and he broke that team twice. Kedrick. Oh, we love to see it. We love to see it. Kedrick, Niners turnover. What are your thoughts?
Ryan got to it there and kind of previewed what I was talking about earlier as well, which is the offensive weapons. The ones that are there are also very banged up or have other circumstances. CMC probably needs a reworked deal after the season at the very latest. Brandon Ayuk is in a weird contract situation. Juwan Jennings and Jordan Watkins are banged up. Debo is gone. Look, I think there are serviceable pieces on the payroll still, but the ones that are there, yeah, they're not 100% healthy, and it's preseason week 3.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Seattle. For me, obviously, they Thanos snapped everybody. Like, everybody got sent to different spots. You look at it like just even in free agency, just looking at it, they lose 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 that got traded. You lose 2 guards, 2 tackles, an edge rusher, 2 linebackers, 3 defensive linemen, 4 corners, 3 safeties, and yes, 2 punters, because punters are people too. But they lost a lot. And I don't know how, in a lot of teams, when they lose a lot of that talent and that depth, usually they take a huge step back. I kind of see that happening in this case. It's one of those kind of classic cases where their roster is just absolutely gutted and they have to take a step back. Now, the other thing could be, we saw this last year with Buffalo. Buffalo had to gut part of their roster and they made the AFC Championship game. Could it be that situation where the roster is really good, or where coaching kind of clouds the issues and good quarterback play gives this team, something to be successful on? Who knows? But right now, that's my turnover. I mean, they lost everybody on this roster. Trick play. What's your trick play here, Ryan, for the Niners?
Yeah, I think the biggest trick play is going to have to be whether Christian McCaffrey can defeat Father Time and with his new Achilles tendons somehow produce for that team. Because what you're saying is a reworked deal for Christian McCaffrey. Brother, let's see if he can make it through the season, because he's been banged up. He's over 30 running back. Is he a freak show? Absolutely. Is he injury problems of his career? Yes. There was a couple-year run there when he first got to San Francisco that – we thought this guy walked on water because he didn't get hurt. He produced whatever. It's been a long time since 2021. It's been at least 3 football seasons, and that's an eternity on a professional men's league player. So the idea that Christian McCaffrey needs a new work deal, he's going to have to be the trick play, and he's going to have to literally carry that team, because Brock Purdy, he's a Valley kid. I always kind of ride for the Valley guys, Phoenix. I think he went to Desert Vista down in Gilbert. Or he went somewhere in Gilbert. Great kid, decent quarterback, but he is not carrying the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is going to be that trick play. He's going to have to get double-digit touchdowns receiving and rushing just to get these guys out of picking top 10.
Yeah. Kedrick, what is your trick play for the Niners here?
Kyle Juszczyk, 2 years, $8 million with incentives. Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Fullbacks. What is a fullback?
Hell yeah. I love that this is a team that has both Kyle Juszczyk and Isaac Orendo on its roster. I think it just shows the classic 49ers, we are willing to be weird with our tailbacks, and it brings me joy.
They still show love to the fullback. I love it. Love it. Mine's just going to be that contract extension. What is Brock Purdy going to look like after the contract extension? A lot of times when quarterbacks come out of the contract extension, it's either they are really successful or they really don't recapture that success that they had before the contract extension. I'm willing to believe Brock Purdy might be on the opposite end of that, where he may not be the same kind of guy that 49ers fans all thought that he would be. So now he's got that extension. What is he going to do? Here you go. Now let's see what you can do with this team. And oh, by the way, yeah, you don't have a wide receiver room. We traded your best wide receiver away. Your offensive line is completely restructured. Your defense lost most of its pieces. Good luck. That's all I would have to say to that. Last team on the NFC West preview, the LA Rams. The Rams finished with the best record in the division with 10 wins. They actually tied with the Seahawks with 10 wins, but they made the playoffs over Seattle. Last year almost made the NFC Championship game for the Rams. Lost to the Eagles in the snow, which is not an ideal way to lose a game. Now this year they're coming back. They got guys like Devontae Adams. They lose Cooper Kupp, but they have Puka Nacua still there on that roster. Rams, could this be a potential final run here? We will see for Mr. Matthew Stafford. But Ryan, I'll start with you here. Touchdown for the Rams. What are your thoughts on the Rams? Positivity from LA.
Yeah, I think the positivity for them, you look at Matthew Stafford, I think he was practicing on Saturday. They're going to have to put him in a cryo chamber because apparently he's having back issues. There are rumors where he's going to have surgery, and he's getting up there in age. I think the biggest positive thing coming out of the Rams is they still have Sean McVay. Had he taken that TV gig a couple years ago, I think the Rams could look a lot different. And the Rams and the Cardinals are who I think are going to be dueling for the division this year. I have no faith in San Francisco. Seattle's good. I just don't think they're going to be able to score with the Ghost Hunter. But I think when you get the positive outlook for the Rams, and I think Sean McVay, not only is he the best coach in the NFC West, I'd probably say without doing a power rankings, he's probably a top 5 coach in the game. And I'd like to think he's a kingmaker at quarterback. So I'm not terribly threatened of Jimmy Garoppolo, but I've also seen Sean McVay take Baker Mayfield on a Tuesday and win, or to take him on a Monday or a Sunday and win a Thursday night game for the Rams. So, I mean, they've won games with a fella named John Wofford, which, okay. So I don't know who they're going to roll out at quarterback. It might be Stafford. He might be on a gurney, but the fact that they still have Sean McVay calling plays is a great sign for Los Angeles, because even though they lost Cooper Kupp, you still got Puka, you still got Kyron Williams. I hate saying this because I don't like to acknowledge any successful things on teams in my division. Kyron Williams is a guy. Like, he ran all over the Cardinals. Yeah, we had a bad defensive line. He produces. He is an animal. I love watching him play, especially when he's not playing against the Cardinals. And just they got a decent offensive line. They're always good up front. Their defensive line, they're good on both sides of the trenches. Braden Fisk. I'm drawing a blank on the other Florida State guy, that number 9. Jared Verse. Those two are animals on the defensive line, replacing Aaron Donald. No one can really do that, but I don't know. I think the most positive thing they have is they have Sean McVay pulling the strings, and because of that, they're always going to be in contention regardless of who their quarterback is.
Yeah, and the Rams, I mean, even you look at it, I remember that when they had that, after he won the Super Bowl, they had that TV gig, things could have been a lot different, and they kind of stayed the course with Sean McVay, and here they are again, now looking like another scary playoff team in the West. And in my opinion, the front runners for this division title in the NFC West as well. I do think the Rams, with the addition of Devontae Adams, they get better because they get a guy who simply is just a red zone weapon. You look at it all throughout his career. He's been a really good target down in the red zone for Aaron Rodgers, for whoever quarterback the Raiders had at one point, for Aaron Rodgers in New York. Either way, he's still a weapon that Matthew Stafford, I think, can find down in the red zone, and he doesn't have to worry whether or not he's not going to make that play. Devontae Adams is always going to go make that play, and that's just from a Packers perspective as well. So I like that. Kyron Williams being there still, that is huge for that Rams team. I mean, the running game for them last year was really kind of what made this offense work. It was very, especially down the stretch of the season, it was very, very lethal. And it won them a couple games. It kept them in a lot of games, especially in the postseason when they played when they played the Vikings and when they played the Eagles, they stayed in it by running that football. So I like what they've done with that. I do think the offense is going to be kind of the focal point of that. This is an all-around good team, too. And this team is not to be slept on. We saw that last year when they beat Minnesota. So keep in mind with that. Kedrick, your touchdown for the LA Rams here.
Ryan got to it a little bit earlier as well. It's that this team finished 7th in the league in rushing success rate last season, and then really doubled down at a really efficient price. The Kyron Williams extension is spectacular, particularly in year one. where he only has a $6.3 million cap hit this season. They still push that money out a little bit. The total price for that running back room, which I think is quietly really, really, really good, ranked 17th in the league. It's not very high at all. It jumps up quite a bit in 2026 as part of that Williams extension. You wonder if they're just going to try then and perpetually push the cap hit out for a little while, as long as Williams performs something close to Pro Bowl level, as he had been doing. Overall, I think it's a tremendous deal for a room that has been really effective for them.
Yeah. The Rams looking pretty good with that run game. Turnover here, Ryan. What is your turnover for the LA Rams to go into this season?
Yeah, if I'm thinking about the turnover, kind of like the negative outlook, I think it kind of rests on Matthew Stafford's back, literally and figuratively. I've looked at their departure list, and outside of like Cooper Kupp and Demarcus Robinson, which even Demarcus Robinson, no disrespect, but full disrespect, the rest of the list is kind of like, oh, okay, who? I don't see a lot of impact makers. They lost a little bit of depth, but they're one of the better drafting teams, not only in the NFC West, but just in the NFL. So they are, when you look at Fisk and Verse, they replenish and they don't really miss often on draft picks. So I think the season for them is going to kind of go on Matthew Stafford's back. I know I said earlier, and I'd be a hypocrite to change, that Sean McVay can kind of make any quarterback. I mean, he can make any quarterback serviceable. He can't make any quarterback win a Super Bowl. So I think if Jimmy G's out there, they could still be a threat to win the division. And you had pointed out that they're kind of the favorite there. And even as a Cardinals fan, I don't like hearing that, but you're the champ until you're the not. And they haven't made any kind of acquisitions or departures that would make me change that they're not the leader in the clubhouse. And if the Cardinals want to get there, they got to go take it. And I think them taking it is going to be literally directly correlated to how well Matthew Stafford heals, plays, practices. I've heard so many different. I'm deep in Rams message boards, doing recon work for the boys, and it's like I'm hearing, possible surgery out on the pup. I'm hearing possible, legitimate. When I made the joke earlier, a little bit of legitimate cryo, like getting real cold work done. Maybe not practicing multiple days a week going into the season. I mean, it's Matthew Stafford, so I don't think he needs practice at his age, but also it is the men's league and you need to practice to be successful. But I think if it's Jimmy G out there, I still think they can be a serviceable team. They'll be a good team. They're going to be a tough out. But I think the negativity around it would be, what is Matthew Stafford and what can he give you? Because if he's not even 80%, 70% of the Matthew Stafford, they're gonna have a tough time winning the division again and or making the playoffs.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford's health is going to be very key to this. I think even with, I think with Jimmy Garoppolo, it doesn't make them a better team, but they'll still win games. I think you need to have a guy like Matthew Stafford to be there and just be able to be successful in that offense. He's been the guy that's kept this team afloat for the last few years, and they haven't fallen apart. So with that gone, that's going to be tough. Kedrick, your turnover here for the LA Rams.
Yeah, sounds like we're all on the same page. It's is this the corpse of Matthew Stafford, or is this Matthew Stafford quarterbacking this team? I don't know. I think this team is probably good enough to push for one more Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. But do they have it is ultimately going to be the question. I think it's a little bit incredible how much he has played the last 2 seasons, given the fact that he has had a really terrible case of old man syndrome. So for his sake, I kind of want us to get to see, as like fans of the NFL, I kind of want us to get to see one more year of Matt Stafford competing. I know Ryan probably does not, but I think
I appreciate great football. Like I don't like when the greats go, the Matthew Staffords. Say what we want about Raj, but when he goes, like you're losing the greats of the game. So even though I have to face him twice a year, or I don't have to do anything, even have to watch them twice a year, I still like watching the greats play football, whether it's at my detriment or not. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to get one more great push out of Matt Stafford and this Rams team. I don't know if it's on the table, but I'd like to see it. But of just not having that certainty is a big loss for this team before week 1.
Yeah. Trick play. Let's close it out here, and then Ryan will let you go. Trick play here for the Rams. What is your trick play for LA?
I think my trick play kind of coincides with my positivity with Sean McVay. I think depending on what you have, we both, the NFC West, we got the AFC South and the NFC South. Yeah, we got both Souths this year. So they're very winnable schedules. But I think in order for the Rams to be successful, they have to play probably their best complementary football that they can, because down the stretch last season, while Matthew Stafford was healthy, the Cardinals and the Rams did battle in SoFi, and it was like a 13-9 game, and they had the defense bail them out. There were some games Stafford was slinging it. So I think their trick this year is making sure that they're playing the most complementary football at the right time, because if they drop some of those easy games, they're going to really set themselves behind the 8 ball in the division, because as much as I like to rag on them 49ers, as much as I like to rag on the Seahawks, even though they beat us twice last year, you got a lot of Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Titans, Jags. You got a lot of that on the schedule to pad those numbers that I think everybody in the division could probably be over 7-8 wins, even if you're terrible. So I think playing complementary football, not dropping those ones that they should win, are going to be key for them, especially if Stafford is not practicing and doing that. You're going to need him for the games that matter.
Yeah, with Matthew Stafford, it's going to be that kind of for me. Like we said it before, I think this is going to be Matthew Stafford's last ride. I don't think that he has many good seasons left in him. I think this year is probably going to be his last good year, his last productive year. So are they going to make that? Do they have enough left for one more run? That's going to be the big question for me with the Rams. You look at this team. I mean, they got to start thinking about the future. They got to start thinking about life after Matthew Stafford. We've seen it in the past with several teams. What happens when you don't have a plan in place after your franchise player leaves? I mean, look at the Saints. Saints are in a horrendous spot right now. So you need to have that backup plan in place. And it's kind of starting to get to that. And this could be the last ride for him. Kedrick, your trick play here for the Rams. What are we finishing out here?
I really like the receiving depth in this room. I think it's really, really, really good. And I think the trick play was Cooper Kupp drawing a ton of attention that allowed these other guys to flourish, or can they be solid enough on their own? My guess is that they can be solid enough on their own. But I think there's a chance that Kupp's just presence allowed guys like Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Puka Nacua, Tyler Johnson to flourish as much as they did. But regardless, that still is a lot of talent there. And I think it's what can make that offense really hum alongside the running game, as long as they have a quarterback that can deliver them the ball. And maybe even that's enough talent to make Jimmy Garoppolo a Super Bowl quarterback.
Which is hilarious to think about for a sec there. Oh, but yeah. So Ryan, this was fun. You got your Cardinals hat on. I see now. I got the Cardinals hat on. Now, as a Cardinals fan, now let me ask you this now with all with now not having to throw all this stuff out here. Now, as a actual Cardinals fan, what are your thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals? Just how are they going to do this year?
I think they're going to do good. I didn't think that the last few years we've kind of been targeting year 3, knowing that you can kind of see the writing on the wall for the 49ers. You can kind of see it. I thought the Seahawks were going to fall off more than they did. So kudos to Mike McDonald for keeping them going. I really think this is the year, because you look at the 49, how often, like the NFC West, like we always used to think we'd always call the NFC best, because the Packers ran the North, Or the Eagles, for the most part, ran the East, even though they'd have a new division winner every year. Saints under Breeze would run the South. But every year the West was like, we don't know. This is going to be a gauntlet. It's not very often that you get the Seahawks, Sam Darnold. You get the 49ers that are absolute dumpster fire of a roster, sans a few good pieces. And the Rams with who knows if Matthew Stafford's even going to play or play effectively. For Kyler Murray, year 3 in the system, year 7, it's now or never, brother. Like I am a big K1 fan. He was not only because he was awesome to my son at Lambeau Field, came all the way over from the 30-yard line, walked directly to him to say what's up and take a selfie with us. But all that aside, homegrown quarterback, I want to see him do well. He's my short king because he's 5'10", I'm 5'10". It makes me think I could go out there and just huck it with the boys. It's now or never for him. And if the Cardinals are going to be a team of the next 3, 4, 5 years to be, threatened for playoffs, threatened for relevancy, threatened for consistency, you have to get it done this year. Anything less than 10 wins, and it's not a good year. So I believe that this is going to be the year they got all the pieces, all the parts around you are down, barring any kind of catastrophic injuries. I'm seeing this team is 11-6, could be 12-5, depending on how some of those closer games go. With the Go Pack Go, we got you guys on the schedule. We got Cowboys on Monday night. You never know what the Cowboys are going to do. Kyler Murray is undefeated in that stadium, 7-0, dating back to his high school days at Allen, Texas. So Kyler just doesn't lose there. But as we know, everything happens or everything's perfect until it's not. So I'm saying 11-7, win the division, home playoff game, and I'm happy as long as you don't get embarrassed in the playoff game. Like you had mentioned at the very beginning, he's only been in the playoffs one time in his 6 years, and that was in 2021, where they just absolutely fell off the map in the second half. D-Hop got hurt, got to the playoff game, got absolutely embarrassed by the Rams. So we got to wash that taste out of our mouth as fans, and hopefully Kyler Murray. So I think it's going to be good. I'm cautiously optimistic as a Cardinals fan. I'm used to losing, so it doesn't necessarily surprise me when we lose, and I try to have low expectations, so I'm not disappointed. But this year I find myself putting a little more expectations and standards out there that it's like, all right, boys, this is the year for 11 wins and a title. You haven't won a division in 10 years. It's go time.
There you go. Hell yeah. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. It was a pleasure having you. And you are more than welcome to come back on anytime, so, and yeah, give us a name drop. Like, where can the fine folks here at STP find you on social media or wherever?
Appreciate that. And thanks for having me, boys. I always like coming on and talking ball. Ked and I go back a long time, and then you and I have connected quite a bit, and big fan of your guys' work. I'm just on Twitter. That's the only social media I do. So Twitter, X at Ryan B. Eilers. I'm usually down there trolling 49ers fans or talking trash about Minnesota, although that has died down a little bit after losing the Axe. But that'll ramp back up late November if good things happen. So appreciate you guys having me on. Enjoy the AFC West preview, and go Cards.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. All right. And we continue on in our show here, Kedrick, and we got some weekly headlines we're going to get through quick, and then we're going to get into the AFC West preview. So the big news, and this news came out actually just 2 days ago, last night, at least when we're recording here, it came out a couple days ago. The Indianapolis Colts named their starting quarterback, and it was not Anthony Richardson. It was Daniel Jones. The very exciting quarterback battle in Indianapolis between these two quarterbacks finally comes to a close, and Daniel Jones is going to be named the starting quarterback for Indianapolis for week 1. Anthony Richardson will be benched. A lot of question marks, a lot of eyebrows raised on this move as to why Anthony Richardson was benched. Shane Steichen, when reporters asked him if Anthony Richardson, does he have a chance to win this job back, Shane Steichen didn't really give an answer to yes, or, so Anthony Richardson might be out in Indianapolis after 2.5 years as the starting quarterback. The Colts now are going to yet another quarterback in this tenure under Chris Ballard. And since 2019, they have had at least, I think, 5+ quarterbacks start for the Indianapolis Colts. I can't remember the number of it, but they've had a lot of quarterbacks start for Indianapolis since Andrew Luck retired. Getting up there to Cleveland Browns levels of just insanity. Maybe not Cleveland Browns levels, but Denver Broncos levels after Peyton Manning retired. But Kedrick, this is a shocking move because I thought Anthony Richardson was going to start this year. I thought they would have just let him play it out. Now here you go. Daniel Jones is the guy rolling forward, and I guess they're kind of saying, we don't care about this job per se. So I don't know what to make of this move at all.
So many layers.
Yeah.
So many layers. Let's start with Daniel Jones. To go from 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 2024 with the Giants to 2025 starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts with a late November signing with the Minnesota Vikings in the middle. It is shocking to me that he is getting this kind of opportunity, frankly, maybe even more than the Anthony Richardson benching itself, but I cannot be sure. Like, Daniel Jones was drafted in 2019 and somehow he's still in the league even though he's shown nobody anything.
He's bad. Like, he legitimately is bad.
And is bad, but despite that fact, because he was technically a free agent signing for the Vikings, depending on how much he plays, they might get a 4th round comp pick.
Unbelievable. I saw that and I was so mad. I was like, come on. Like, of course we got to give Minnesota something. It's so stupid. What also too, and I've over the last few days, I've looked through Twitter. Colts fans are not happy with this move at all from Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, and they're basically really just thinking that this is a move of let's punt on this year and see if we can, be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. Okay, I mean, Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are probably going to get canned regardless. I mean, it's a move that just says you're giving up. But I also look at it too with Anthony Richardson. It's like he did not put himself in a good situation at all last season to warrant him getting a chance this season. I mean, he took himself out of a game.
Yes, but no. The understanding of the Anthony Richardson draft, 4th overall in 2023, was always that he was a project. There was never a lick of an understanding that he was a ready-made product. Nonetheless, they put him out there as a supposedly ready-made product to start week 1 in 2023. And he's still no. Let me give you a list of names. We're gonna give you a list of names game. Ooh. And tell me what they have in common. Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shuck, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. What do these guys have in common?
They've played more. If they've played more college football seasons than Anthony Richardson has.
Because Anthony probably true, but that's not exactly what I'm going for.
Okay.
We'll give you one more guess.
They've all started. They've all started more.
Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, and Dylan Gabriel
Actually,
and Tyler Shuck have started games.
Well, actually, no. Because I remember what you're saying. I don't know. You got to give me the answer for this one.
These are all first or second year quarterbacks. Keep in mind, Anthony Richardson is going to year 3. Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shuck. Oh, I think you got it.
They're all 20. They're all 23.
They are all younger
than
Anthony Richardson.
Because Anthony Richardson, he's what, 23 when they drafted him? Because he was 21
22?
when they 22. Yeah, 21 when they drafted him.
Yeah, incredibly young. Yeah, 23. These second year quarterbacks drafted a year after Anthony Richardson are all younger than Richardson, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and these rookies are all older than Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
And these rookies are all older than Anthony Richardson. Tyler Shuck, Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, Shedeur Sanders. All of them older than Anthony Richardson. And yet, the Colts have given up on Anthony Richardson, apparently, knowing when you drafted him that he is a long-term project. What if the Buffalo Bills gave up on
Josh Allen
before year 3?
I mean, and even too, like through the whole draft process, even draft analysts were saying, and NFL execs were saying, and scouts were saying, he is a developmental prospect. He's not a guy that you can come in year 1, start him right away in year 1, because if you start him right away in year 1, he's going to struggle. And I guess, I mean, with Shane Steichen, I mean, he was very helpful in the development of Jalen Hurts. Indianapolis saw that in him. But it's also, too, again, like, it just doesn't make any sense why they quit on him so early. Like, I mean, like, I would have given him at least another opportunity to see if he could do it, because this team's good. You look at the Colts team, they're good. They have talent. Yeah. They have talent. And now with that talent, you're plugging in Daniel Jones. It's like they're not going to be successful. So I don't know. I mean, Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard really put their jobs on the line for this one. So I don't like it. Don't like it one bit. They've already given Daniel Jones a nickname, which I think is ridiculous. You want to guess what his nickname is?
No.
Okay. It's Indiana Jones, but
that's actually sick.
Yeah. It's Indiana Jones. So Danny Dimes is retired, but yeah. Congrats to Daniel Jones.
Damn,
God.
That's actually phenomenal. I love that.
Oh, all right. Next headline here. Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons trade rumors. It was official earlier this week that Micah Parsons asked for, not Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson asked for a trade, and the Bengals gifted him his request. He is now officially on the trade block. Micah Parsons also on the trade block as well from Dallas. Trey Hendrickson's reason, same reason as Micah Parsons. He wants to get paid. Trey Hendrickson, only problem with that is he's getting up there in his 30s, and the Bengals are asking for a first-round pick. So it is going to be very hard. And on top of that, too, Trey Hendrickson wants to be the highest-paid non-quarterback player in NFL history. Same thing with Micah Parsons. The only difference is Micah Parsons probably will get that deal more than Trey Hendrickson. We are going into week 3 of the preseason, and Trey Hendrickson has yet to see the field, and he may not see the field as a Cincinnati Bengal. Micah Parsons trade rumors, kind of interesting, Kedrick. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a rumor out there on Twitter that the Packers might be interested in getting him.
The Packers are littered all over trade rumors for these guys.
Yes.
And who knows if there is anything to it, but it's all anybody can talk about are the Green Bay Packers going to end up with one of these two guys?
I kind of hate it. Let me be honest here. I kind of hate it because I know it's never going to happen. So
that's where I'm at. It's like,
yeah,
man, haven't I heard this one before? And I just fully am like checked out of any kind of real intellectual or emotional investment into it.
Right.
Because I will believe it when it happens.
Yeah.
And not until then.
And even still, like, it's probably not going to happen for so many reasons. One, like, nobody is offering a first round pick for Trey Hendrickson. Nobody is going to offer that pick for Trey Hendrickson. Like day 2, day 3. Micah Parsons, the opposite. Any team I think would love to have Micah Parsons on their roster. He's younger. He's 26. You could make that deal and get him that contract extension. You also know, too, you add him, he's an instant impact player on your defense. He makes things really frustrating. What's also great about Micah Parsons, he's very dynamic. You can put him not only as an edge player, you can put him as a linebacker, you can put him as nose, you can move him to the other side of the field. He is that dynamic of a player. So I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But if it does happen, if one of these two players does get traded, there's going to be a lot of talk moving forward after that of, well, now, what happens to said team? What happens to the Bengals or the Cowboys? Is their defense going to get better or is it going to get worse? That's the only question. That's the question mark that I think will be put up to the test for the Bengals and the Cowboys. Bengals, too, by the way, got a new defensive coordinator in Al Golden. So it might not affect them at all. But for the Cowboys, this might affect them in a big way because they don't have really any pass rush after Micah Parsons. I mean, Osa Digizua, maybe, but still, you don't have that pass rush, like that dynamo, that pass rush dynamo that Micah Parsons brings to that team.
Noah, can I implore you in some more Cowboys fan tears?
Yes, you can.
We're gonna do a little previously on Snap the Pigskin segment. Noah, it was less than 2 calendar years ago that this team was one
in a playoff game,
half game away from being the number 1 seed in the NFC.
It's a shame.
And then
they played the Packers, and we all know what happened.
And just like seemingly ended the upward trajectory of this franchise.
Yeah.
In the matter of 15.
Just think now, thinking about that, Kedrick, you being at that game, that you probably witnessed history.
Yeah. Unbelievable. That from our NFC East preview episode. The call of the Green Bay Packers ended the upward trajectory of the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC wildcard game 2 seasons ago. Noah, have you watched any of the new Netflix series?
I was about to watch it this upcoming week, and I did hear the clip of Jerry Jones.
A teary-eyed Jerry Jones fighting through tears, saying of that game, this loss hurt us in every way more than anyone we've ever had.
Oh, I love it. I loved it. I was giggling so hard when I saw that.
So yes, I suppose the Dallas Cowboys, which were less than 2 years ago, a half game away from being the number 1 seed in the NFC, are now on a downward spiral that seemingly has no end to it. And that may very well have been the nexus for all of this.
And now we jump to the AFC West. We're going to start with the Denver Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride. And Denver had a good year last year under Sean Payton. They were in the playoff race right till the very end. Got 10 wins last year with Bo Nix as their quarterback and had some exciting moments towards the end of the season. And Denver this offseason really loaded up on talent this year, particularly in the defensive side. They add two big pieces to that group in Dre Greenlaw and Taliona Ufunga from Seattle or from San Francisco, and DJ Jones, they re-signed to a 3-year deal. They also added on the offensive side Evan Ingram, a tight end weapon, and J.K. Dobbins, a running back for the Denver Broncos. So Sean Payton's team in this coming year looks a lot better. And to start, Kedrick, touchdown for me, this defense is scary good with the additions of Greenlaw and Ufunga. They added two key pieces from a defense of the Niners to two key pieces on the defense for the Broncos.
This defense is good. It was the best defense in football by EPA per play a season ago. The best in EPA per dropback, fourth best in EPA per rush. And I think there's a chance they end up better this year than they were last year. As the beneficiaries of the sell-off in San Francisco, bringing in safeties, Talanoa Hufunga, and linebacker Drake Green.
Yeah, I love what they did on that spot. The defensive side looks a lot scarier. They're going to improve. They're going to improve. Now, turnover. What are your thoughts on the turnover here for the Broncos? Honestly, for me, offensive side, did they do enough on the offensive side to make this team successful enough and to keep that Bo Nix train rolling?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you look at with the team, they added RJ Harvey, they added J.K. Dobbins, but they didn't really add much in the wide receiver game. They drafted Pat Bryant out of Illinois. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the Broncos. And if you want to give Bo Nix a chance, you got to give him some pieces around him. They didn't really do that as much this offseason.
Yeah. Defense was awesome. Not sure that's good enough. I think the splashiest move on offense was probably a 4-year extension to 30-year-old Cortland Sutton at wide receiver. He is great. He's great. He's been great in Denver, but he was already there. You didn't add anything on top of the unit to an already middle-of-the-road offense led by Bo Nix, who seemingly has been pretty up and down in camp. So I don't know that the offense is going to be much better. Any incremental improvement is good in the right direction, plus maybe a little bit of a sophomore by Bo Nix, but not a ton of resources invested there.
Yeah. So, and just looking at the offense, like with it too. I mean, Evan Ingram will be a big. I think they're the best piece that they added from the offense was Evan Ingram because he's a pass catching tight end. That was one thing that they did not have last year was a pass catching tight end for this group, and they get that with Evan Ingram. You look at his tenure in Jacksonville, did some good stuff there with the Jaguars. I think this is going to be a good piece for them. But yeah, Bo Nix not doing so well in camp. Trick play for Denver. What is your trick play here for the Denver Broncos, Kedrick?
Trick play is that they let their leading rusher, Javonte Williams, walk over to the Dallas Cowboys in their stable of okay running backs. That puts a little bit more of a notice on Julian McLaughlin. who averaged 4.4 yards per rushing attempt last season. Paired with J.K. Dobbins, who nearly had 1,000 yards in only 13 games with the Chargers. This is where I think there is a good chance for the offense to step up, be more varied. And even though you let your leading rusher walk, you maybe got better here.
Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment. I do think you look at it with Denver, they lose Javonte Williams. Mind you, too, Javonte Williams has been banged up in and out of the lineup, but when he's in there, he is very healthy. I think it was a good move for Denver to let him go just because he's had injury problems. And they add J.K. Dobbins, who is known to be a really good running back threat. You also look at it, too. They had R.J. Harvey, which gives them a little bit of speed. He gives them a little bit of speed coming over from UCF in the draft. And on top of that, Pat Bryant from Illinois. I liked him coming out of the draft process, can run the entire route tree really fluidly. I think they'll do well, but the running game, I think, is the key. You look at Sean Payton and you look at the Denver Broncos, the key to their success, even back towards the end of Drew Brees' career, was that running game with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray and Taysom Hill. Get that back again with R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins and Jaleel McLaughlin. You could have something there. You could have something there for the Denver Broncos. So moving on, we go to the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders probably this year, if we're looking at it, will be in the same spot this year as they were last year, which is maybe one of the worst teams in football. But they got Pete Carroll. They got Geno Smith. They got themselves a quarterback to help them out. Other than that, what do we see with the Raiders? Who knows? But turnover, Kedrick, or touchdown for the Raiders. What is your touchdown for Las Vegas here?
I got to be honest, this was hard for me. And maybe I have an unfair negative opinion of the Raiders because I think they have a higher opinion of themselves as a team than I have of them. I think if you, the Raiders, believe you are a win now team, I think if you're trading for Geno Smith, you believe that you are. And so if you think that signing Max Crosby to a big extension is the best thing you can do for your team. Yes, you throw the bag at him if you believe you are a win now team. He had 35 pressures a year ago. That's more than twice what anybody else on the Raiders had. Max Crosby had 17 tackles for loss last year. That's the same amount of pressures as Tyree Wilson had, who had the second most pressures on the team a year ago. Max Crosby is nuts. You lock him up. Good for you if you think you're in win now mode. I'm not convinced you are, but clearly you think you are.
Yeah, this is another one too with the Raiders. It's tough. I mean, this was a tough thing to look at. What is the positive I could see from this? Well, Pete Carroll's there. I think with Pete Carroll, they'll at least have some structure at the head coach, at the head coach spot. I think the last couple years, they haven't had a good leader. Antonio Pierce, solid coach, but really couldn't lead that locker room, and he lost the locker room. Josh McDaniels, we know Josh McDaniels lost that locker room. Just ask Devontae Adams. So now you bring a guy in Pete Carroll who's had that experience, who's been in good situations, who's led a locker room. Now take that and try and restore the glory to the Raiders. That's really kind of the only thing that I could see from this Raiders team is they have good leadership there in the building. Whether or not it's going to turn out well is another story. Turnover here for the Raiders. Kedrick, I feel like this is an easier one to say what the Raiders could be here for a turnover.
Yeah, they lost a lot in the secondary. They lost a lot in the defensive secondary. Trevon Moehrig played more snaps than anybody on the Raiders a season ago, and he is gone at safety. 2 of your 3 most played corners by snaps are gone in Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs. Eric Stokes is coming in to play a big role for that defense, and I've watched a lot of defense that relies on Eric Stokes, and it's not that fun.
Oh,
I think the secondary is going to be rough.
yeah. This Raiders team, their secondary is just brutal, and they only brought in 2 corners and 2 safeties. Jeremy Chin over from the Panthers, Jamal Adams over. Jamal Adams, Eric Stokes, Darnay Holmes. They added some pieces, but even still, yeah, they lost a lot. They also lose Nate Hobbs as well to that group. Marcus Epps, Trevor Merring, they lost. It doesn't look good for this Raiders secondary. I also think too, you look at it, their defense, even while you paid Max Crosby, like they're going to be one of those teams that's going to be, I think, competing with the Saints for the worst record in the league because they just are in a proverbial black hole, if you will. They really aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And so that's exciting. Trick play. What's exciting about this team or what are your thoughts? What's the trick play here for the Raiders?
Let's see Ashton Genty. Let's see it. I'd
Yes.
like to see a guy outside of the traditional college football power structure really carve out a name for himself in the National Football League. 6th overall pick from Boise State running back. I'd love to see him be a star. I think it would be just a lot of fun for that Boise State Broncos. Very passionate fan base, which I'm sure would love to get to Vegas to watch Ashton Genty over and over again. I think it'd be really good for the league, really good for college football. I think it'd be a ton of fun. I hope it happens.
I hope it does too. Yeah, I'll go with you on that one. I think with Ashton Genty, that'll be fun to watch, and it'll be fun to watch. And with Pete Carroll and that offense too, perfect fit for him. Run first offense. Expect him to tote the rock a lot, and expect him to be. Hopefully, he can be very successful, but expect him to tote the rock a lot for this Vegas team. Now we go next to the. Oh, you didn't put. Let me put the. I would say the Chargers. We go to the Chargers next here. The Los Angeles Chargers. This was a team last year. Kind of in the first year of Jim Harbaugh, they made the playoffs right ahead of schedule. 11 wins last year. So now what happens with this Chargers team? Well, who knows what happens with this Chargers team? They were active in free agency, but they were also not really a team that kind of moved the needle for anybody. And now here we are in year 2 under Jim Harbaugh. What does the Chargers look like? What's our turnover here? What's the turnover or what? I keep saying turnover. What's the touchdown here for the Chargers, Kedrick?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't think there's a real sexy move here, but I think they did an excellent job investing on the interior of their offensive line. I think that's the touchdown for me. You bring in Mekhi Becton over after his season in Philadelphia to play inside, protect Justin Herbert a little bit. I think that's great. I think a really sneaky good signing is bringing over Andre James, who started at center for Vegas and is now depth, a piece that's really going to push existing starting center in Los Angeles, Bradley Bozeman, for that role, and otherwise maybe play a swing role on the interior for the Chargers if needed. Building through the trenches, particularly at the O-line, in the second year under Harbaugh, it's starting to really feel like a Jim Harbaugh-built team. Yes.
The ground raid is forming. I love it. I love the ground raid. The Chargers, they did they really didn't do anything flashy in this past year, but they did some stuff that I think helped this team get better. They drafted Amari Hampton in the first round. I like that pick because it's a Jim Harbaugh pick. It's a guy who, and we know Jim Harbaugh. He likes to run the football. He likes to be a guy who's physical. So they drafted Amari Hampton. But other than that, there really isn't much that stands out to be really impressive. And that's a great way to kind of segue over into our turnover here, Kedrick. What's the turnover, at least for me, for the Chargers? Nothing really too exciting. Nothing really too flashy. We'll see what, nothing really too exciting, nothing too flashy from the Chargers. That's kind of my turnover for this team.
For me, it is, just waxed poetic about the interior offensive line investment. It would have been the overall offensive line investment because, hey, you're the Los Angeles Chargers. You just locked up your starting left tackle to a 4-year, $92 million deal. Highest average annual value for an offensive lineman in the league. That sounds great. That should be part of the touchdown for this team. And he's on injured reserve less than 2 weeks after signing that record. If you're the Chargers, you really thought you had something going. You have Joe Alt in his second year over at right tackle on the opposite side, and then you lock up a big money, big name left tackle to protect Justin Herbert to go along with these interior signings, and it falls apart at the one position that would probably be, if you were picking one of your 5 starters to go down, you're picking that left tackle last of the 5. And so that is a real kick in the groin. 2 weeks after you make him the highest paid offensive lineman in the league to IR. 2 weeks.
Brutal. I mean, that's tough. A season-ending injury. I believe he had a rotator cuff injury. He's done for the year. That's brutal for the Chargers, especially with Joe Alt when they got him last year. That was a solid pickup for them, getting Joe Alt. Tough break for the Chargers. Trick play, though, for the Chargers. Is there a trick play for Jim Harbaugh and the ground raid? What are your thoughts?
Much like in Vegas, a rookie running back takes center stage here after J.K. Dobbins is gone. Another first-round running back in the AFC West, Amari Hampton, this time around. He's got to be ready to go for this team, which we know is going to want to run the ball. As Najee Harris came in this offseason as well, investment to run. But he's going to be out for the first 4 weeks of the year as he is on non-football injured reserve because he hit himself in the face with a doggone, daggummit firework. Najee Harris hits himself in the face with a firework and is going to miss the first 4 weeks. So, Amari Hampton, come on down. It's all you, buddy.
He pulled a play. Najee Harris pulled a page out of Jason Pierre-Paul's playbook, I guess. Just wanted to mess with fireworks. I think for me, it's going to be Justin Herbert. I mean, this is his time. This is kind of his time now. I mean, you look at this team. Justin Herbert's been to the postseason. He's been to the postseason a couple times now. Hasn't won a playoff game yet. At what point do the Chargers kind of say, it's the same thing that we talked about with Kyler Murray. At what point do the Chargers say, we don't think he's the right fit for this organization? And Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator. He's not the right fit for this offense. I'm just going to say it flat out. He's not the right fit for this offense. He would be, because of the way that Greg Roman's offense is set up. It's more run heavy. It's more option based. You're not really throwing the ball as much, more as you're running. So he's coming into a year where back is against the wall for him. he needs to step up and he needs to, show that he is the quarterback for this organization. So that's my trick play. And then the last one is the Kansas City Chiefs, defending AFC champions, got absolutely throttled in New Orleans. They come back this year, once again, AFC West Division champs. Taylor Swift announced her new album on Travis Kelce's podcast. That was probably the biggest offseason move that I saw from the Chiefs. But Kansas City, they have Patrick Mahomes. Anything with Patrick Mahomes you have makes you an instant contender. So, touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs here, Kedrick. What is your touchdown for Kansas City?
I wouldn't say that's their biggest offseason move. They signed George Karlaftis to a big extension and invested pretty heavily on the defensive side. On a defense that was more than serviceable last year, as we've mentioned.
At least for Swifties, that was the biggest offseason move.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs had the 5th best pressure rate in the league last year. You re-up the deal for George Karlaftis. You sign Nick Bolton to a big deal for a linebacker. Just feels like smart team building for the Chiefs overall. Even if the obvious answer to a touchdown for the Chiefs is that they still have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And I think for the Kansas City Chiefs, you look at it, they bring back Marquise Brown. They needed some speed. You also bring in Elijah Mitchell to help that running game for Kansas City. I don't think Isaiah Pacheco was that good last year. I don't think he was that good last year. Mind you, too, he missed part of the season. So that running game was kind of iffy. And on top of that, yeah, big one, George Karlaftis got that big 4-year, $93 million extension. And Nick Bolton also getting a $45 million, $45 million contract extension. Just solid moves. Solid moves for a team that I think is still going to be really solid this year. Turnover side of it, though, Kedrick, what is the turnover side for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think this is the year the pass catchers hit the wall. I think we're here.
Yes.
Travis Kelce looked old at the end of last season. He's entering his age 36 season. D-Hop is gone. Samaje Perine was their 5th leading receiver last year as a running back.
That's funny.
And he's gone. Justin Watson is gone. There's only 2 players in the top 6 of receiving yards from last year still remaining on this team. One of them is Travis Kelce, and the other is Xavier Worthy. So the only 2 guys in your top 6 of receiving yards are a 36-year-old Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy. I think this is the year they maybe hit the wall, and Patrick Mahomes. Look, I think you can rely on him to make a little something out of nothing. But I think that's a lot of what you are hoping for from the pass catching talent on the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. You even look at it too. Rashid Rice is going to miss the first 4 games of the season. Before he got hurt, he was one of their more reliable receivers for Kansas City. And now going into this year, he's going to miss the first 4 games of the season for a suspension. Kansas City, you look at the Chiefs even too in their draft process, even in the draft. I mean, they drafted Jalen Royals out of Utah State, and he's questionable. But you look at this team. I mean, Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy are probably your 2 guys that you go to. And the Chiefs offense the last couple of years, I mean, and mind you too, when Rashid Rice comes back, I think they'll be a little bit better. But yeah, this pass catching room for the Chiefs is not good. So last thing, trick play for Kansas City. What is the trick play for the Kansas City Chiefs here?
Most rookies are bad. The Chiefs need Josh Simmons not to be. They really need him not to be. First round pick 32, starting left tackle for the team quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes is the rookie. Man, you need him not to be bad. You really need him not to be bad.
Well, especially you look at the depth too. I mean, yeah, looking at the depth, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, they have Wanya Morris, Essa Pole, and then even two on the other side, Jawan Taylor and Jalen Moore. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. If there's one guy that will be that has a big target on his back, it's gonna be Josh Simmons this year. So the rookie has to pan out. Kansas City for me, I think this year it's gonna be, can they stay competitive with the way the AFC West is turning? Because you look at the Chargers, you look at the Broncos, and you look at those two teams, they've got better. They've got better in terms of just overall team building. So have the Chiefs. But when does the fatigue hit? Because you look at it, Kansas City has been to 3 Super Bowls now, 3 straight Super Bowls. When does that fatigue hit? And if so, when that fatigue hits, how bad is it going to hit for this team? That's that's my question mark for Kansas City. I just don't know if they have another 20-game, 21-game season in it for them because of how well this team is, because of just now you look at it, Travis Kelce's getting up there in age, Patrick Mahomes getting closer and closer to 10 years now. Andy Reid, still a good coach, but doesn't have the pieces that he did when he won that first Super Bowl to kind of get him over the hump. So, yeah. With that does it for us today on our show. We had a lot. We covered a lot, but we finished up. We still got the NFC, AFC North coming up here. Watch Snap the Pigskin on YouTube.com/Snap the Pigskin, or listen wherever you get your podcasts. And once again, we thank Ryan Eilers from Badger Notes coming on here, and you and him and Kedrick also have a podcast coming up now, Talking Badgers. Go listen to that if you're a big Badgers fan. Badger football is right around the corner here for any of you college football or Badger fan listeners. College football actually is right around the corner. Wonderful. I'll try and watch college football. It's gotten so bad over the last few years, but still fun stuff to watch. So with that, I'm Noah Clark, joined by Kedrick Stubris. This has been another edition of Snap the Pigskin.